Hi, Floppers. Before we start our regular nonsense, we wanted to make sure you knew the Flophouse is going on a 4-city West Coast tour this January. It's the Flophouse Errors Tour, the biggest event in pop culture entertainment this year, probably. You can see us in Vancouver on Wednesday, January 24th at the Rio Theater, in Portland on Thursday, January 25th at the Aladdin Theater, in San Francisco on Friday, January 26th at Cobb's Comedy Club as part of San Francisco Sketchfest, and in Los Angeles on Sunday, January 28th at the Regent Theater. For tickets, go to flophousepodcast.com/events. Again, that's flophousepodcast.com/events. The Flophouse Live. It's like the podcast, but you can smell us. And now, without further ado, our regular nonsense.
Let's see. Do I have a hot one? You know it, bitch. Fire it up, Dan.
Okay.
Dan, the man said fire it up. Fire it up.
All right. Okay. On this episode, we discuss Kangaroo Jack.
So wait, is that the thing where you put your hands in the pocket of your hoodie and then you use your really strong legs to manipulate your dingus?
I guess that was the hot one.
So, now Stuart's going to do the hot one.
And welcome to the Flophouse. I'm Dan McCoy.
Hey, Dan, it's me, Stuart Wellington,
Hey,
your
Stuart.
old pal.
Yeah, good to see you.
Hi, Dan and Stuart. I didn't mean to interrupt your one-on-one conversation, but I'm Elliot, the other co-host of the show.
Oh, hey, look, he's on the computer. He's like a little guy inside a box.
I mean, even in real life, I'm a little guy, so it's
yeah,
and
but
no
kind
one
of in
puts
real
you in a
life,
box.
and we're all in people's computers, which is what phones are, right?
Mm-hmm. Pocket computers.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay,
here we
let's
are at
wrap
the old
it up.
house.
This is the Flophouse, the show where we describe things everybody knows about as if it's a new thing that we're coining.
We've arrived from another planet.
Yeah.
And no, this is a podcast where we watch a bad movie and then we talk about it. And I'll say something. Normally on the Flophouse, we watch a newer bad movie.
Sure.
Early on, this was a way to sort of set us apart from, Mystery Science Theater, say, had covered all of the classic bad movies, and there'd been hundreds of books about bad movies and how hilarious bad movies are. I'm just saying, we didn't invent it.
Was that a ghost talking about how funny bad movies are?
Yeah.
So, for a while, we focused on the new stuff, which also set us apart from other bad movie podcasts too. It was a branding thing. But now, during the strike, we went back to some older bad movies and we're like, hey, this is fun. So we figured, let's do it more often. Why not?
Mm-hmm. We ran up the fire pole to the suits in charge of the Flophouse.
Yeah.
And we're like, can we do this?
Turned out to be us.
Yeah.
It was bought in the room. And
Wow.
By us.
Today we're talking about Kangaroo Jack, a movie that we have often referenced on the Flophouse. I don't know whether any of us had seen it. Had you seen? I had not seen it. Have you seen it?
I remembered the trailers when they came out, and I remembered the scandal when it turned out the trailers were inaccurate representations of the film.
Was there something memorable about the trailer for Kangaroo Jack?
Was in the trailer, but she was not in Kangaroo Jack. So.
Yeah, It was originally called Kangaroo Ana de Armas.
Yeah.
The trailer famously made a big deal out of a rapping kangaroo.
Yeah, it was kangaroo forward, I would say.
There's as we'll see when Stuart does the summary, there is one scene in which a character hallucinates a talking kangaroo, and the trailers used almost entirely moments from that scene to make it appear as if the movie was about a talking kangaroo, when it's really a mob buddy comedy.
Well, and this is not the only kind of bizarre thing about the production of Kangaroo Jack. The other thing is, of course, the oft-told tale of how it started out as an R-rated mob comedy, and then
which, as we have learned this year, I am a huge fan of.
Huge fan of. The problem with it was there were not enough mafia mamas in it.
What is it called? Kangaroo Mama. It was about a kangaroo took over the mafia, but it's also a mom.
I would love it, Elliot. Who would be playing the kangaroo in this case?
Oh, Toni Collette, of course. Same
she's got the range.
And
she's Australian, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so. So it all works out. Yeah, but that version of the movie...
Guys, if I heard Toni Collette speaking in her real accent, I think my head would explode.
I wouldn't accept it. No, I wouldn't accept it. The same way I refuse to watch any videos of the guy who plays the gangster on Barry, speaking with his real voice because
Oh yeah. No,
I don't want the
Hank.
illusion to be broken. I never want to. Oh yeah. I never want to know what his real voice
Gangster
sounds
with
like.
a memorable name.
But as I was saying, the original R-rated cut of Kangaroo Jack did not play particularly well.
I can't
and
even
so-
imagine what was in it if there
Yeah.
was an R-rated cut. I can't imagine because it's such a childish movie from
Oh,
start to finish.
completely. Well, other
there's
than
been
some
some childish-
inappropriate.
Other than
content.
inappropriate-
I feel like
jokes.
there's been some childish movies that are R-rated. So I guess this is a plea. I mean, we have a little bit of reach with our show, and I think it's best that we use it for good. In this case, if you have access to the R-rated cut of Kangaroo
Yeah,
Jack,
if you're
you have to
Jerry
send it to us,
Bruckheimer
please.
And
Yeah.
you want to send that to us?
This is right. This is now that we know that The Day the Clown Cried will probably be seen in some form. I'm not as interested in that anymore. But so I want to see the R-rated Kangaroo Jack. I want to know. According to Wikipedia, it originally included cursing, sex, and violence. Sex where? Where would it fit into this movie?
Well, I mean,
between
seeing
Jerry
as
O'Connell and
this-
Stella Warren?
Seeing as this version already still has a wet T-shirt scene of Estella Warren, at which moment in the thing I texted a GIF of Dom DeMillo from Kangaroo. Kangaroo.
Don DeLillo?
Kangaroo.
Kangaroo Jack star Don DeLillo. The novels weren't working out that well. He needed to pay some bills. He took
Guys.
the role of the kangaroo.
Guys, I almost said Kangaroo Bang Bang when I meant Comedy Bang Bang. Andy Daly's
It was originally called
character.
Kangaroo Bang Bang because the sex scene was with the kangaroo.
I texted Andy Daly's character saying something for Daddy to Stuart.
Yeah.
Because it is wild to me that they made this kids cut of the movie, but kept in the Estella Warren in a wet undershirt scene. But anyway, I mean, better that than violence, but still weird.
I guess maybe that when I said the movie is childish, I guess it's not entirely childish. You're right, but it is a movie that has a big bit about farting camels, and it's not stuff. I mean, I did just rewatch an episode of Seinfeld that involved a farting horse last night, so I guess there are grown-up things with farting animals in them. But
that's the thing. I'm not sure how much of this is reshoots or not. I mean, most of the research shoots, from what I understand, was to add CGI kangaroo
Jack.
action
yeah,
to make it into a
Wait, that
kids
was
movie.
CGI?
But they probably did other stuff too.
no, don't ruin Stuart's illusion. Stuart, they took a kangaroo, they trained him to rap, they implanted
His name
human
was-
vocal cords.
Jackson Kangaroo.
No, you guys already said it. Now I don't trust movies anymore. Let me call Todd Vaziri. He'll clear it all up. Okay, guys, let's get into this fucking movie, right?
Let's do it. It's only
Okay, Kangaroo Jack.
what
the
89
movie.
minutes long. Let's get through it.
Yeah, come on.
This is a shockingly not that many cards for this note cards for this plot. So, of course, this movie opens with some a title sequence production logos. You get some funky music. That's how you know you're in for a fun time. The first thing, of course, because this movie's called Kangaroo Jack, we get some voiceover from Jerry O'Connell, who's playing the star named Charlie. And we have a voiceover explaining all about Kangaroo Jack. We have pictures of Kangaroo Jack, video footage of Kangaroo Jack, just so I feel like it's like they're doing the bare minimum to make sure you understand this is actually the kangaroo movie you entered and not like the wrong movie.
Just because you won't see a kangaroo for the first 20 some odd minutes of the film, don't forget that this is a kangaroo movie.
Okay, so we quickly do a flashback to 20 years ago on a beach in Brooklyn. It reminds me, as we're a couple of Brooklyn boys over here, of course, I would be the Charlie Carbone and Dan would be the Lewis Booker character played by Anthony Anderson. So we flash back 20 years ago a beach in Brooklyn.
I
Yep.
did have a metal detector when I was a child. So
Whoa, that tracks.
it was like a toy metal detector. It was not like a fancy one. But
Detective
yeah.
Metal Toys.
Yes. No, I would use it to go around, looking for treasure in the neighborhood. Usually it would be nails.
And then you found the Titanic, right?
or other rusty pieces of metal that I could have cut myself with and died, but I didn't. It was,
You're saying
it was
it's not a
fun way of
great thing
spending
for a
time.
kid to be using, is a
Maybe
detector
not
that
in
finds old
retrospect,
metal.
but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the thrill of the hunt.
I had a metal detector. It led me to the episode of The Young Ones with Motorhead in it. It was amazing. It really changed my life.
true.
Yeah.
So on this beach 20 years ago in Brooklyn, we are introduced to Charlie Carbone, played by Jerry O'Connell as a grown-up. His friend Lewis, who's a bit of a nerd who has a metal detector, as we said. We're introduced to a gangster
coolest
named
hobby, I
Sal, played by Christopher Walken, who is the new boyfriend of Charlie's mom. There's an evil rival kid named Frankie. We'll get to him in a minute. Who throws a football, and Charlie almost drowns in the ocean, only to be saved by Lewis, which is kind of the encapsulation of their friendship. There is a certain amount of guilt that Charlie feels because Lewis saved his life, or so Lewis believes. Flash forward 20 years. We are in modern-day New York City. Well, 2003? When was this shot?
It came out in 2003. It probably was shot in 2002, I'm guessing, if there was that extensive an edit that it went through.
All the cars look like they're from 1992. So,
I think,
Charlie...
people, I think, forget that when the year happens, not all the stuff that exists in the world is from that year, that, like, old stuff hangs around for a long time. And so it bothers me when you see a movie that's set at a certain time period and they're like, we got to get the cars from just this year. Everyone's wearing the clothes from just this year. It's like, well, most people are going to be walking around wearing old clothes and driving old cars. History it's not like every year everyone gets all new stuff. So that's just a little pet peeve for me about the way people handle the past in movies and things like that.
And they didn't want you to take over for Andy Rooney?
Oh, let's not even scratch that scab. It's almost healed. Let's not reopen those wounds. Yeah.
Andy Rooney, more like Andy Looney over here. Get it? I got him.
I guess.
Don't understand. Not at all.
Actually, I agree with Elliot's statement. I don't know why I'm giving him a hard time.
Well, but similar how when you see a movie set in the future, everything is futuristic. When that's not how the world works. You go to an older person's house, it looks like everything's from 1990 or 2010,
I mean, I recently watched The Creator, which I think actually does a nice blend of like high-tech and low-tech stuff where it doesn't all feel super modern. I mean, it's in some ways, a similar aesthetic and, I don't know, whatever else to like a District 9 where it's like a mix of them.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Okay, so flash forward to present day. Charlie is now a hairstylist. He operates a mob front hair salon called Hair We Are. Lewis is now some kind of like a hustler now. He's like a petty hustler who has a lucky jacket, and he steals a truck full of televisions, and they get in trouble with the cops, and then they in turn get in trouble with the mob.
Well, this is
an interesting choice to me.
Glossing over a huge car chase that opens the movie.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was going to talk about. It's an interesting choice to me to introduce us to the adult versions of our heroes. And the first thing we see is them, doing a tremendous amount of reckless endangerment as they, try to escape the cops.
High-speed chase with the cops where they are so uncaring about the lives of any other person in the world. What are they, Batman in the Flash movie? What's this all about?
Oh, man. Oh.
Yeah, but I'm you're assuming that I'm going to love these two doofuses immediately, and I think that you're making a bet that may not pay off. Kangaroo Jack,
Yeah, there's a lot of wisecracking, a lot of over-talking, a lot of like wacky music playing. That's how you know it's a comedy and not some kind of a drama. Like you thought it could have been a drama. It's similar to May December where you're like, what is this?
Yeah, when I walk into a movie called Kangaroo Jack starring Jerry O'Connell, what I expect is a heavy drama. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's certainly a lack of jokes. For a movie that is ostensibly a comedy, I would say until Anthony Anderson comes on screen, it is a joke-free desert. It's a comedy desert, and he's really the one source of comedy for much of the movie.
I'd say it depends on what you count as jokes. Are jokes just verbal things that are said, or like there's a lot of shenanigans that? I think
what kind of shenanigans
are a subset of jokes.
Maybe. I mean, I think the movie expects us to think it's funny that Jerry O'Connell runs a hair salon. Like it feels like there are certain things that the movie thinks are going to be funny that you're like, that's not a joke. That's not funny. I don't know. And that's not even like a woke thing. It's just like there's just nothing inherently funny about a mob-backed hair salon. You need to put jokes into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do respect the movie. Like, not that there is no gay panic in the film, but the movie does not make an overt point of like it being like, I don't know.
There's only a couple.
There's really only the airport bathroom scene, and I think a hugging scene later. You have to assume
the hugging scene, which ruins an act, like a moment that is actually kind of nice. But we'll get there.
You have to assume that the R-rated cut had a ton more of that stuff. Had a ton more gay panic jokes, probably.
Mm-hmm. So they managed to.
I mean, we'll never know until someone sends it to us. Listeners, find that R-rated cut of Kangaroo Jack, send it to us.
So they managed to evade the police, but they end up bringing the police down on Jerry O'Connell's stepfather, Sal's art smuggling operation.
Well, it's like the warehouse where he stores his stolen goods.
Property.
And there's some expensive art there. I guess he's the guy who stole that Winslow Homer painting that disappeared and was never found again. Maybe that was
okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay, that guy. So he So of course this gets them in trouble with the mob, and this is where we see Christopher Walken in his mansion in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, which doesn't really look like Bensonhurst, but that's fine. And he explains, you cost me money, but because you're family, I can't kill you. Your mother would be so sad. He does a few little bits and jokes. I think there was a moment where he mispronounces something, and I'm like, was that intentional? Was that in the script, or did he flub it and just play it well?
I was so excited when Christopher Walken showed up in this movie because I didn't know he was going to be here, and he's not giving it that old Country Bears energy, but.
Yeah, but you do that thing when during the opening credits you close your eyes and you say no spoilers until you see him on screen.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I saw the name. I'm just saying that I didn't know before, hitting play that Christopher Walken was going to be in there.
I knew he was in there, but it is always nice to see him. It's true he's not giving his all like he does in Country Bears, but he's not sleepwalking through it. I have to correct myself. It was not a Winslow Homer painting that was never returned. It was a Rembrandt painting, but it was of a ship at sea, which was why I was thinking Winslow
partial
Homer.
Credit. Yeah,
Thank
that makes
you.
sense.
That's the Storm on the Sea of Galilee. That's the one that was stolen and never returned. Yeah.
But also, did you mention baby Michael Shannon's
That's
there?
the thing. That's the real excitement.
That was the real surprise, yeah.
The rival Frankie shows up, now an adult, played by Michael Shannon, Kensington, Brooklyn native right now.
Mm-hmm.
Can you say native if he just lives here now? I don't know.
I tell you that Audrey also finally saw him around the neighborhood.
That's dope. That's great. Now you have something to talk to him about. Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah. I think he is. I find him genuinely funny in this movie. Not at the very beginning, but later on, I think his performance is very funny.
Mm-hmm. Well, partly a big part of it is that he fully commits to being a mobster in a movie and not treating it like a joke.
Yes. Yeah. Whereas everyone else is kind of barely doing anything.
Yeah.
So so Charlie and Lewis are given a mission. This is the way that they can make amends. They have to take a mystery envelope that they are not allowed to look inside all the way to Coober Pedy, in the outback in Australia. Near Sydney,
you got to learn how to pronounce these things, Stuart, for your big trip down under.
Reason, now, we had a couple different movie options.
Stuart down under.
Yeah, a couple different movie options, and one of them was Kangaroo Jack. And as I've mentioned on the show a little bit, your boy Stuart is going to Australia here in about a month, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've always wanted to go. But it's the other side of the world, so I need to learn about it. So I'm doing all the research I can, watching Kangaroo Jack.
Watching all the Australian classics.
Kangaroo Jack. I'm watching that show Instant Hotel. Do you remember that one?
Sure.
All kinds of crap.
Now, Stuart, our audience, I'm sure, knows this already, but you should know that Coober Pedy is, of course, referred to as the opal capital of the world. It's known for its opal mining. So that's something you'll need to know when you get to Australia, because they'll ask you before they let you in.
That's where opals come from.
Well, that's good. I guess I guess you're spoiling your gifts that I'm going to bring back. A bunch of opals.
Bags. Sacks of opals.
Sacks of opals. So, of course, they're given this mystery envelope, told not to look into it. Of course, they immediately look into it while they're on the plane. Turns out that it's full of $50,000, which, now, I don't want to sound kind of weird, but that doesn't seem like that much money.
Well, remember, this was 2000. This was 2003.
Let's adjust for inflation.
And we'll later find out why it's that money. But it does seem like it's both a lot of money and not a lot of money for them to have to courier. Yeah, for a movie, exactly. Yeah. And it's also the way they handle this envelope, even before they know that money is in it, is ridiculously slipshod. Like, it's literally tucked into the back of the seat pocket of the seat in front of them on the plane. Yep. It's like, put that in your suitcase, dude. What are you doing? Like, come on, what are you doing?
And then, of course,
keep it in your pocket.
We get some comedy bits.
This bathroom conversation leads to the longest and most improbable misunderstanding.
Not since Wild Wild West have two men behind a closed door talking about something where they have to work really hard to make the phrasing sound like they are having sex with each other, so that it can be overheard by somebody else. Not since that.
In this case, it's phrased so it sounds like they're both very excited about Jerry O'Connell's poop, and want to pick up the poop and put it in an envelope and whatnot. And
See, I couldn't tell if they were talking about poop or his penis. That's the thing that I couldn't
guess.
quite get.
But I think they do like talk about putting it in the envelope, which I think means that it's a discrete unit, not that they can, they're just going to put it like a sleeve over his penis and then tuck it back in his pants. And they talk about how green it is, which I guess could be about some sort of disease, but to me read more like they were marveling at his bowel movement. I don't know.
See,
like such a weird
this scene
thing
needed
to exist.
like a Dan doing a Statler and Waldorf. You guys in the back row doing a Statler and Waldorf bit, trying to analyze what they're talking about.
This is both what I think the other writers hated me for at the Daily Show, and I think a genuine, useful quality is like, I want to hash out the logic of these things.
Well, I remember our long arguments about the name Jabba the Hutt and how you could not wrap your minds around you couldn't wrap your mind around why it called Jabba the Hutt.
I just think it's weird that like it's introduced as if it's a title and then like it's anyway.
It is. It's like Nicky the Greek. It's an ethnic title.
Yeah, but then everyone's anyway.
Non-mobsters.
Non-mobsters are called Hutts.
He's the only Hutt in the whole scene.
No, in the extended anyway.
But the other Hutts are also called that, but that's not canon.
My point is that like there are places where you can fudge logic.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of fudge,
it doesn't matter. But I think if you're gonna do like particularly a joke this dumb, the logic has to be airtight. I think actually,
yes. It's got. I agree with you on that, and I think it's
yeah. You need the audience to be like, I don't like it, but I respect it.
The phrasing
they pulled it off.
It's so forced. It's so incredibly forced, and it's so it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, to pull off something this, like you're saying, to pull off a premise this stupid, that the two of them are being overheard and being mistaken as thinking that I guess they're talking about his poop, and want to put it in their mouth and stuff like that, and put it in an envelope. Like
they want to pick it up and smell it. Yeah,
that's what it is. Put it and smell it. Like the. It just feels like it is. They really have to square that circle a little better than they do here.
Yeah.
So that's not the only comedy bit. We get some jokes about how Anthony Anderson Lewis's pockets of his lucky jacket are filled with like odd candy bits,
like
mostly
candy.
Unwrapped. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also get a bit where Jerry O'Connell gets strip searched at the airport. It's good stuff.
The candy stuff, honestly, is more of like where I want the tone of this movie to be at because it's so goofy and like, like Three Stooges-y or silly, like childlike to have like, he's just got like an assortment of unwrapped candies that he has no problem like popping in his mouth and then popping back in his pocket.
Yeah, he has like a single Twizzler in there, just unwrapped in the pocket of his sweatshirt. Like,
that has a big kid quality that I kind of enjoy.
That I would like. I think I would buy so much more of this movie if these characters were, like you're saying, Dan, like Three Stooges type grown-up children idiot. If this was the Stars of Detroiters in the same plot. So much of this would make so much more sense to me because they're essentially child men, or if it was, if it was,
now I want to see Kangaroo Jack.
That'd be so much better. So much better. Or if this was, I wouldn't enjoy this as much. But if it was like Dumb and Dumber 2, Kangaroo Jack, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I get it. These guys are cartoonish morons, but these characters are both. We're supposed to take seriously their bond as friends, and also assume, and also laugh at these dumb things they're doing. And I can't buy it. Can't buy it.
So
sorry, Kangaroo Jack, I can't buy it.
So
I'm not gonna buy it, Kangaroo Jack. I'm just gonna. I know you put it in my. You took it off the shelf and put it in my hands so that it would be harder for me to not buy it. But I'm gonna put it back on the shelf.
Shark Tank.
Yeah. So guys, I'm not gonna invest in Kangaroo Jack.
All right. Sorry, Sharks.
You lost your chance back in 2004. When's this from? I don't know.
It's 2003.
Okay, I was close.
I had just come out of college, and somebody said, "Hey, you want a career investing in Kangaroo Jack?"
Summer of Kangaroo Jack.
When I was young and life was so wonderful. I'll remember it like it was yesterday.
When I was 17, there was a Kangaroo Jack.
Until the Kangaroo Jack of summer has come. I don't remember how that song goes.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah,
for this show. Anyway, Stuart.
So, back to the adventure.
Do you remember? Kangaroo Jack didn't come out in September. It came out in January. So it was not the summer, but the winter of Kangaroo Jack. Do 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 do.
That's a different song.
So back to the adventure. Charlie gets out of being.
The adventure.
Okay,
of these
God
two
damn it.
guys going to Australia.
I like that Stuart doesn't get annoyed anymore. He's just like, okay, this is a chance to answer that text that came in earlier that I couldn't do.
Okay.
It was quite a cinematic Saturnalia when Kangaroo Jack came out that day. Do. Ah, you thought it was a rapping kangaroo that was in the movie, but
Might as
it's
well
just
check the
one scene
promotions
in the
folder
movie
of
at
my
all.
email.
Yep. Anyway.
Okay, no, for real.
Okay.
No, that's not for
that-
real. I'll wait till I start talking about Frank
I'm
Welker.
sure that
Okay.
Yeah.
football will never be pulled away
So
again.
Charlie gets out of being strip searched to find that Lewis has already rented a Jeep and pulled it up, which is kind of wild. Like if you ever rented a car from the airport, it's nuts.
Yeah.
It
So
takes
they just-
time, yeah.
Yeah. So they
That's
take this Jeep.
That's the main inconsistency and hard to believe thing about the film.
Whoops! Found a whoopsie. Add it to the list.
Put it on the
so they're-
goofs section.
So they're driving through the outback. They are doing a little rap together. They're rapping together, which you're like, oh no, this is grim foreshadowing of what I'm going to see later. And they get distracted while rapping and run over a kangaroo.
Hilarious.
Yep, it's hilarious. They pose for pictures with the
Again,
supposed
our
corpse.
heroes.
Yeah, our heroes pose with the corpse of a kangaroo for
Again,
a while.
if these were idiot characters who were not supposed to be necessarily sympathetic, but were just crazy
Yeah.
morons, I'd be like, okay, I kind of buy the idea that they go, hey, that kangaroo looks like a guy we know back in New York. That's impossible. There's no way. But also, they're like, hey, let's pose with him, put the sunglasses on him, and let me take off my lucky jacket full of my unwrapped candy that I talk about all the time, and let me put it on a dead kangaroo's body. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
just the idea, you have to imagine, as they started to thread a dead animal's limbs through the sleeve of the jacket, that they would say, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Who are
Yeah.
we? Is this who we are as people?
If not just because like I feel like a monster, then also because I don't want to put this jacket back on afterwards. Maybe like, but you know, like
Yeah,
the selfish
yeah.
reason.
There's so
Even
many reasons. Or just imagine how much people hate it when someone poses with an animal they've killed and puts the picture online. Already that's a kind of disagreeable thing to do. It's a kind of disgusting to do. Now
Yeah.
imagine that you then
More
took
than
that corpse.
kind of.
Yeah, but I want to set it up because then imagine you took that corpse, of the animal you killed, put your jacket on it, put sunglasses on it, and then took a picture of you kind of like sister, back to back, you know,
Yeah.
like, hey, check this person out. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
Angel.
different level. Yeah.
yeah.
Angel, student by night, call girl by
So we're
day.
coming
by
out hard
day.
against the protagonists of Kangaroo Jack. We stand
Okay,
against
so
Kangaroo
they're
Jack.
posing with the dead body. As we said,
And I'm not
Lewis.
saying, and you know what? You don't have to like the main characters of the movie you're watching to
No.
enjoy the movie. I'm not saying
Sure.
that. But in this kind of movie,
Yeah, it's not Uncut Gems where I love him. So they're posing with his dead body. Lewis puts his lucky jacket on the dead body. Of course, turns out this kangaroo's not dead. It wakes up. It runs off.
just like every animal hit by a car in every comedy ever. The animal is just like in Tommy Boy, just in in any other things you think of. The animal is not dead, but wakes up and runs off. Yeah.
Guys, that jacket's pockets, they're not just full of candy, right? They're full of real candy.
They're
That's
full
right,
of nature's
money.
candy. Money. Yeah, exactly.
That's why they call it money. They runs off with the $50,000. They need to catch that roo. So they chase the kangaroo. Of course, they crash their Jeep, and they have to walk across the outback.
And again, I don't want to be the guy who's like, why didn't they just do this thing? That's a plot hole that in this tense situation they didn't think of the thing to do. You already hit this kangaroo once with your car. Why are you not driving fast enough to just hit it again with the car? Are you worried about breaking the money? Come on. I don't understand.
I think they're worried that they've already proven that it's immune to it's got
To car
resistance
crashes.
to car crashes.
I just want to point
it
out
only
at this
takes
point-
half damage. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to change the weapon type.
At this point, we have fulfilled the legendary tagline for Kangaroo Jack. Of course, he stole the money and he's not giving it back.
That's true. That is the tagline, and
In
the
a
movie
way-
has born that out. Yeah.
That's kind of like a rap in itself, right?
Now
Okay.
that implies that he knows he has money and he is deliberately refusing to return it. That this is a kind of scheming kangaroo when actually
Rather
it is
than-
an animal.
They're
That
just
is-
reaping what they sowed by
Yes.
posing with this kangaroo.
Okay, so they crash their Jeep. They have to walk across the outback. They find like a saloon, like a roadhouse in a small town. While they're there, they have some drinks. They meet Jessie, an American woman who is working at the Wildlife Foundation.
I apologize. I so wish this had turned into Wake and Fright at this moment. That they went into this roadhouse and they just find themselves. I mean, in both Wake and Fright and this, they are hunting kangaroos. But that it had just become them on an ever increasingly lurid descent into disgustingness.
This one part feels like it could be a deliberate reference, just because like there's this like the old guy who like they're just pouring booze down his gullet, and so much like that scene in Wake and Fright.
Maybe, except that that's clearly a setup for the punchline of this is the guy who's going to fly them around. I don't know that they were like, for Kangaroo Jack, I looked at all the greats of Aussie cinema. Wake and Fright.
This guy is
Mad
like
Max.
that actor's been in like a ton of crap.
There's a couple of Australian actors in here, and that's one of them. That's Bill Hunter, who's been in lots and lots of things. You know,
he was Muriel in Muriel's Wedding. He was Priscilla in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
He was. I mean, he's in those movies, but he's not those characters. He played Gallipoli.
Oh, wow.
I guess the
didn't think he could pull it off. But
the material with him is some of the stuff that I found most legitimately funny in the thing. Like we spoiled it already, but like I'm sure Sue's about to get to it. You know, Estella Warren's like, "Oh, here, use this trank gun, and the best way to hunt a kangaroo is from above. You got to get like a bush pilot." And so this guy passes out, and then they call the bush pilot and hear his phone ringing in his pocket, and discover, of course, it's and that bit I actually enjoy.
It's a good bit, yeah. But yeah, so they meet a bush pilot named Blue, I think, who is.
I wish I knew a song that he could sing about his name, where he's just making it clear what his name is and who he is.
I mean, at this point, it's my own fault for saying that damn word around you.
I wish this was actually. I want to interrupt just for a tale of real life. This is yesterday when my kids in the back of my car started singing that song out of nowhere, and my wife turned to me and she was like, "You made this happen." Like, this is like, you're responsible for this. And I was like, and I'm loving it. Just that they spontaneously both sang, I'm blue, davu dee davu. But they weren't aware of the spoken word intro to the song, which I had to relay to them, where it's like, this is a story about a blue guy, and he lives in a blue world, and everything is blue. I love it that they're like, this song is a little complicated. We better explain the premise ahead of time.
Yeah.
Here's an opening crawl for you.
I'm Blue, episode 1, the Blue Menace. So everything's blue, right? This guy is blue and everything's blue.
Yep.
Imagine
it is a blue time for the galaxy. Yeah.
So yeah, we meet Blue, who's played by Bill Hunter, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bill Hunter.
And we also meet Jessie, who's a young American woman who is working for the Wildlife Foundation Federation, something like that.
Yeah.
And she suggests that Lewis get a tranquilizer gun and a plane to hunt down this kangaroo. We find out, of course, they hire the bush pilot. They get a trank gun. I don't know. This seems like a small town, so it's weird that he's just like, he went to the fucking general store and was like, yeah, I'll take a tranquilizer gun with one tranquilizer dart,
please. She gave him that.
Maybe. I assumed he got it from her also. Yeah.
I think there's like a peddler somewhere who's like, oh, look at my wares, traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mayhaps I possess what ye seek. No, there's no way you could have a trank gun.
A trank gun? The strong potion?
Yeah.
Or this rope?
Well, I want the strong potion.
That will be 20 gold pieces. Look, can I give you like a credit card or owe me a favor?
I don't know the economy here.
3 opals.
Oh, wow.
You have to pay me in toes. My own or someone else's. Maybe not picky.
Dealer's choice.
If you pre-order it, you get a DLC bonus of 24 toes.
Yeah, you get the steel book. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Wow, more than one character in this universe uses toes as a means of...
So
it's Australia, Dan. It's a nation started by criminals. It's going to be the toes are our currency over there. Yeah.
So they've lost the money and they're stressing out, but they're not the only people who are stressed out. That's right. Multiple groups of gangsters are mad at them. The person they're supposed to meet, Mr. Smith, played by Martin Sakis. You might know him as Celeborn from the Lord of the Rings series.
Okay.
Husband to Galadriel. Come on, Dan. You know Celeborn.
You probably know him better as Trevor Goodchild in the Aeon Flux film.
Oh, yeah,
I
that's
did
true.
watch that movie, but I don't
Or
remember.
or perhaps as Jack Bartz in Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, a movie we have flopped
Okay,
before.
again, not a memorable character per se.
He was also, I think, the villain. Was he the villain in the first Triple X movie?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, he's Yorgi in Triple X. Yeah.
Yorgi,
Wow.
Yorgi doesn't fuck around. He's a bad guy.
Pretty big career from a guy I don't recognize at all.
Or Dan, perhaps did you see him when he played George in a revival of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf at the Belvoir Theatre in Sydney, Australia? Is that where you know him from?
I did not fly out for that one.
Okay.
Oh man, Elliot saw that one though. Okay, so he plays a character named Mr. Smith, and he's mad at them.
Going
so
to
he's
Washington.
starting to track him down. And also, Sal is mad that they have lost the money, so he sends Frankie, of course, played by Michael Shannon, to Australia as well. So we got two groups of
Guys,
gangsters
bad news.
looking
He was
for
also
our
in
guys.
Dreamhouse. He was in 2 different flop movies.
Oh,
Man,
no.
he's crushing it.
Yeah.
This is 3 for 3 for him. Okay. So of course,
Put his name up on the board, Dan. Put the plaque with his name up on your wall.
You know, Dreamhouse was worth it for getting those 2 crazy kids together. You know what I mean?
That's how I feel about the 3rd season of Fargo.
Yeah.
The 2nd season of Fargo.
Geely.
Geely.
That broke them up, I think.
Oh.
They got back together eventually.
So it brought them back together in the long run, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing, yeah, they were shooting a season of Fargo and they got canceled. That would be great. I would love to see Ben Affleck try and play a guy with a Fargo accent.
I think he could do it.
But he would have to wear a Red Sox hat the whole time.
Yes.
So, okay. So, of course, Charlie and Lewis are up in a bush plane hunting down Kangaroo Jack. I'm just going to call him Jack from now on, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Everyone's going to keep track of that.
Jack,
of course,
Kangaroo is what you'll call him.
They have a
JK.
they have a whoopsie and they accidentally shoot the pilot in the back of the head with the tranquilizer dart. So they crash. It's very
Lewis
exciting.
does the classic thing people do in movies, which is they have someone in their sights, and instead of shooting at that moment, they then talk as they go, "Now I got you. There's no getting away from me now. Gonna pull the trigger right now in 3, 2. Watch out for it. Well, he got away.
So they crash, but they all survive. Thank God, right? Thank God.
Oh.
So they.
I did
have
thank
to-
God at that moment. I said, Adonai, blessed are your many blessings on this earth. Thank you for creating the fruit of the vine. Thank you for creating the bread of the earth and the trees of the fields, the animals of the earth, creating this beautiful universe for us to inhabit in and to take care of. Thank you, Creator of life, for saving these 3 men in their plane crash in Kangaroo Jack.
Yeah. So after Elliot's done with that, they end up having to hike across the desert because they are going to try and track down that young woman to see if she can help them find that kangaroo. While they are lost in the desert, they encounter a series of supposed mirages. The first is a Jeep left unattended that is full of all of Jerry O'Connell's character's favorite things.
Mm-hmm.
But we realize this is a mirage. So this is going to set up the next joke, which is
that's
hilarious.
kind of a funny moment. It's kind of a funny moment, that first mirage. It's
Yeah,
okay.
he gets to do some physical comedy. The next thing is riding up on a camel is Jessie, this young woman that they had met earlier, or Lewis had met earlier. And Jerry O'Connell, Charlie, still believes that she is a mirage. So he does what anyone here would do, is he immediately grabs her breasts.
This is what I was going to ask you guys. If you were...
No.
If you were...
The answer is no.
Wait, I want to hear it out. I want
Okay,
to
let's
hear
hear
the
the
whole
question.
question.
Maybe the question is, if you saw a mirage woman, would you not immediately grab her breast? In which case, my answer would be yes. But so, Dan, what's your question?
So there's this woman. You believe her to be sort of a spectral, imagined figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what-
And she's
Yeah,
a
I'm
beautiful
with you.
woman riding a
She's a
camel. You
beautiful
don't
woman.
expect to see this in
And
the
of
desert.
course-
Your friend, of course, could yell at any moment, "Oh, I know her," refuses to, wants to see how the situation plays
immediate
out.
reaction for this ghostly lady. Well, would you grab at her?
Would I assault her?
Yeah, would that be the?
Would you pull an Al Franken on her? No, I don't think I would.
No, I don't.
But
yeah,
it was
I don't
a
think that's
bit.
the first
It's one of the,
reaction.
it's such a, again, if these were moron character, here's the thing. If this was Dumb and Dumber, you would have those characters grab her boobs, not for a sexual reason, but because that's the part of her body that they would assume they would, see if she's real or not. They would have to, they would talk it out ahead of time or something like that. And they'd be like, well, we have to, the only way to see if she's real is to touch her in some way. Well, what part of her body is closest to us? Those ones. Okay. Like, I could almost, if it was a non-sexual thing, I could almost buy this as a joke.
The fucking gymnastics Elliot has to do to explain this shit.
I know, just and it's one of those things where it's like, if you ask me, do I think Jerry O'Connell would do that? I don't know. He seems like kind of a skeevy guy. Yeah, maybe he would. I don't know.
I don't know. I actually think he seems in real life kind of nice, but has like kind of like a skeevy like demeanor about him.
I mean, unlike his co-star in this movie, I don't think there are outstanding allegations against him.
No, that's true. That's true.
I get the impression that he's actually nice, but he has this like smug unlikability on camera that he's become a better actor as he's leaned into.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
I think you're right.
Oh, let me play my Piranha 3D style characters or whatever. But
yeah, and maybe that's what maybe mixing up the character and stuff. Because as you're saying, unlike Anthony Anderson, there are no ongoing things. But
so
it's such
gets
a weird thing. It's such a weird thing for a character to do. It doesn't make any sense.
Very bizarre.
And it's the sort of thing that, again, if they were idiots and there was you were at no point supposed to be really sympathetic toward him, it might work. But in this case, it doesn't work. Well, it kind of does. She punches him in the face and it knocks him out. So we are gifted.
we get that,
we are treated to the best thing. We are treated to what we plunked our hard-earned money down for.
Which is to see Jerry O'Connell get punched in the face.
Yeah.
We get a dream sequence where Kangaroo Jack does
this is what we plunked our money down for.
Sings along to Rapper's Delight while we bounce in our seat, dancing along. We get some more dream stuff as well. And eventually
he imagines that the other characters are also kangaroos talking to him, that there's a Christopher Walken kangaroo and Anthony Anderson kangaroo. But I was amazed, again, having not seen this movie, having only seen the trailer, but knowing that there wasn't that much talking kangaroo stuff in the movie, I was amazed even with that at how little the Kangaroo Jack kangaroo talks and how little he raps, how completely out of nowhere the rapping is.
Needs more kangaroo rapping, says Elliot.
Well, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, if you're going to do it, make something, instead of him going, I can't just talk, I can sing, a hip, a hop. And I know they picked that one because, again, it's a go-to rap.
Hopping.
And the hopping. And he's a kangaroo who jumps. But they don't do anything with it. It's very lazy. I guess what I'm saying, this rapping kangaroo scene is very lazy.
It would make more sense if they were listening to this song on the radio when they hit him with their car.
Yes, yeah.
Because that would at least explain some of it.
I love this. Let's have Stu script doctor the whole thing.
I can't believe we're trying to Monday morning quarterback this one.
And so the whole thing is they didn't survive that plane crash. Everything that's happening from that moment on is a hallucination in the last moments of Jerry O'Connell's life.
That explains a lot, actually.
Yeah. And now I also believe this was a last-minute add to the movie. They probably didn't have a lot of money to put into it, so I imagine that's why it's not much longer. But it feels like, why bother at this point? Yeah, why bother?
So they team up with Jesse to trek across the desert to go to a watering hole that they believe the kangaroo may be at. Over the course of this point, we have seen multiple shots of Kangaroo Jack kind of doing kangaroo stuff, but also fishing candy out of the pockets of this lucky jacket and reacting to them. And we get some bits, and he makes little sounds with his
he likes Twizzlers, but he doesn't like, later on, of course, the
fireball.
Spicy candy, yeah. And every time you see Kangaroo Jack, the same music plays, and I came to hate this music so much. That's like...
Yeah, it's like a Dr. Dre sample or something, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it specifically is, but it sounds like, a background sample from something of that era.
And they're trying so hard with it to make Kangaroo Jack seem like kind of a cool bad boy, I guess.
They are trying so hard to make him fucking
he's got a
Bugs
Brooklyn
Bunny
jacket on now, Elliot. He's got attitude.
Yeah.
They're trying so hard to make him a Bugs Bunny. And you know what?
They want him to be a Looney Tunes character so badly, but all he does is nothing. But you do get the great animal vocal effects of Frank Welker. What's funny is it sounds like Frank Welker doing animal effects. Like, I recognize that animal sound from other animal sounds he's done in the past.
Was that Frank Welker doing the rap?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe the
voice was uncredited.
That's in his contract, no raps.
According to Wikipedia, the uncredited voice of Jackie Legs Kangaroo, I believe it's Adam Garcia. It says here, does a lot of musicals, mostly a stage actor. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, it's all on screen. He clearly has stage training. Okay, So they team up with Jesse to go across the desert. This is a scene where we see the three of our heroes riding around on camels that will not stop farting. It's hilarious. Everybody's cracking up.
This farting goes on so long.
A lot of farting.
Like, I could forgive like a couple of camel fart jokes, honestly, but the longer it goes on, the funnier it does not get.
They really think it's hilarious that we cannot get enough of this.
They need to set up. So this is an important scene plot-wise because it reveals what's going to happen at the very end of the movie.
Yes.
That they discover.
This is the kind of tight Cracker Jack Chekhov plotting that you were looking for with the radio playing the song that Jack sings. Yeah.
They discover some kind of berries in the outback that smell really good, and they want to use it in shampoo.
Yeah.
But in order to make this scene a little more fun for the audience, they add a ton of farting effects. So they go to this oasis. They set up an ambush to try and ambush Jack. They learn how to make bolos and throw bolos. But of course, Lewis messes it all up. Jack gets away. They're all mad and disappointed. So they do the only thing that makes sense. They go into the local swimming hole together, and Dan gets his wet T-shirt scene that he's been begging for.
Yeah, he's been drooling over the whole time.
I just think it's wild that like they turned it. They're like, we got to make this into a family comedy. But
Dan's like, show the bottoms too.
We got to lose the Estella Warren wet T-shirt scene. No, we're not cutting that out. No, God, no. Like it's just. I mean, it does feel edited. It does feel like they like.
Do you think this was a nudity scene or a sex scene in the original cut? Is that your opinion?
No,
Dan?
I don't think it was that. I just think that they probably had more of it because like they have a little of it, but I bet it was more like drooling in the R-rated version.
Yeah, and Jerry O'Connell's got a pretty hard body there. I'm like, oh, what's he been doing? A lot of free weights. Yeah, a lot of free weights.
Mm-hmm. What kind of working out?
Low fat proteins.
They after
Probably.
this swimming scene, it immediately cuts.
In the swimming scene, Estella Warren flirts with Jerry O'Connell, the man who assaulted her the first time.
Yeah, this is a wild progression. We've seen nothing that indicates that she would be falling for him, but apparently at this point in the film, they have a passion for each other.
The beginning, at least, of one.
There's something about him making moves on her when she's already like, don't get in the water. And he's like, I'm going to get in the water. And then he's like approaching her. And the whole time I'm thinking, she is a woman on her own in the wilderness. She's already been assaulted by this guy. Like,
you're saying she should have murdered him like would have happened in many other Australian films.
Yeah.
I keep saying as if this is an Australian movie. This is not I don't believe this is an Australian production.
Yeah, because
I'm pretty sure Peter Weir made this.
Yeah. That's right. It was a Peter Weir film.
Hugo Weaving's in this, right? That's how you know it's Australian.
Well, it's a different Hugo, but he is weaving.
Oh, nice. He's a little kid from Hugo, and he's weaving something.
Yeah, and he's weaving like a rug. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course their possible rendezvous is interrupted by Lewis cannonballing into the water, and he doesn't know how deep that water is. He may have just killed himself. He may break his neck on that.
Fucking spoiler alert! I'm sorry, I got to bring it up now. It's so wild. He cannonballs into
a hot tub on a yacht.
And I'm like, your legs are broken, sir.
Oh man,
there was more cartoon physics in that moment than there was in every time we saw the animated kangaroo. Yeah.
Okay, so we
that's
cut.
My favorite. Also, Dan MD. I love that. That's your bedside manners. You go up to him and you go, "Your legs are broken, sir." Like it's real Karen energy with the way you talk to your patients.
Hey, man. In the other ward, there's someone in there who did nothing to deserve what they're going through, and I'm in here fixing your broken legs because you thought it was funny to cannonball into a hot tub. What were you thinking? You are wasting my time, and you are putting my other patients' lives in jeopardy.
Yeah, just like House. Yeah.
Can I talk
to your manager, patient? I need to talk to your manager about this.
So we go straight from this swimming hole scene
Actually,
to them.
House MD, House McCoy, Dan. It makes sense. Yeah, that's the same guy. Yeah.
So they're together. Woken up by...
He gave me all the clues, Mr. Policeman, yeah.
Yeah, he gave Stuart a chance to drink some of his broth, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my thermos of bone broth.
Yeah, Eli broth.
That's barely a joke, dude.
No.
I didn't really put a lot of energy into it.
Okay, so
Words
they're
sound like
woken
each
up
other.
from, I don't know, they're probably all tuckered out from swimming together, so they go to sleep. They're woken up the next morning. So how much time has passed? Have they eaten food?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think they had a handful of berries at one point. That's enough, yeah.
They don't have any, they went to Australia with like no luggage, or did it all explode? What happened?
That's true. I mean,
Maybe it was in the
they
Jeep.
got sidetracked pretty.
Why'd they leave
quickly.
all their, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd be freaking out. I just
I mean,
gotta have
maybe
my
they did
stuff,
bring-
I gotta have my stuff, guys.
Maybe they did bring no luggage, or else they would have had, or they wouldn't have had a loose envelope full of cash
Yeah,
that they're
that's
just
true.
walking around with. I don't know.
Okay, so they get captured by the Australian like bounty hunter hitman guy, Mr. Smith, and his two goons. He splits
Mr.
them
Smith,
up.
who they were supposed to give this money to, he
They were
knows that
supposed to
they did. He thinks they've cheated him. Yeah,
Yeah. That he that's money that's owed to him. So he takes Jesse off to find the kangaroo, and he sends his goons to take our other heroes away. They turn the tables. They distract the goons. They manage to I don't know, get guns on Smith.
they like steal a gun off of the camel, and they get us. They save Jesse.
Tables are
it's-
turned. We're like, hooray, everything's good. Not
It's pretty
good.
half-assed. No,
Because at this point, Frankie shows up. Frankie has been in Australia for a little bit. He has gone through a series of guides to lead him on his path to finding our heroes.
each time he gets the information he needs, he throws them out of a Jeep in an overhead shot, which the second time it happened,
not
I was
bad.
like, I
Not
think it's funny
bad.
that they repeated this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
The-
Michael Shannon is inhabiting this character in a way that nobody else
Yes.
does. So he is
They-
genuinely funny at times.
They have the gangsters end up getting in a fight with each other. Our heroes and Jesse escape, and they go after Kangaroo Jack. The mobsters crash their Jeep through a tight canyon. Lewis, while riding a camel, falls off a cliff. Charlie manages to save him at the last minute.
They're square.
Then Frankie shows up, and he has a gun on them, and he explains that the money was actually money to pay Smith to kill them. So they were paying somebody
is-
else to kill
It's
them.
a very weird
Pretty-
moment where Frankie shows up and saves them from Smith, but then is like, actually, he's supposed to kill you. It's like, why, Frankie, why are you here? Why'd you get involved? Why,
I think he wanted the honor of killing them,
Oh, possibly. That makes
There's
sense.
so
Yeah.
that they would serve him
There's
in
too many
Valhalla.
shenanigans
across the
going
Bridge of
on.
Swords. What?
Like they'd evaded being killed for long enough that it seemed like a cleanup crew needed to go in. Now, why he stopped him at that point from just
Yes,
doing it,
That's more
who
what
knows?
I wonder.
Other than like he doesn't want to have to pay the money at that point because the deal is gone so
Maybe
Yeah.
that's it. Maybe that's
so
it.
far
yeah.
bad. But like that is cold blooded of Christopher Walken to have his surrogate child deliver the money for his own killing.
Dan, I hate to break it to you. Mob bosses, they're not all mafia mamas. Look, come on.
Yeah.
They don't get where they are by
Aw.
being nice to people. They're mean people. They're bad guys.
Yeah.
I know that when you live in Brooklyn, so you're like, John Gotti, what a stand-up guy, takes care of the neighborhood. Oh, what a hero.
Yeah,
We'll get off
yeah.
his back, lousy
That's actually a
feds.
really good Dan impression right
yeah,
there.
it's me, Dan McCoy. Hey, I'm from Eureka, Illinois. It's how we
Forget
talk over
about it.
this.
I
Forget
will.
about
I
it.
will point out that the way that our heroes talk, despite the fact they made a point of being two boys from Brooklyn, seem to have no Brooklyn qualities about them.
No, not at all.
Anthony
I mean,
Anderson is referencing restaurants that do not exist in Brooklyn. Yeah,
he has a sweatshirt that says Brooklyn on it, though.
yeah. You know, you can just buy those. You don't have to be born
What?
into it.
What?
Yeah.
I thought that was what they swaddled the babies in when they were born in Brooklyn. So I was
Yeah.
mad that even though I lived in Brooklyn, my son was born in Manhattan because I was like, but he's not going to get that cool sweatshirt.
He's not going to get a cool sweatshirt. Yeah. Okay, so Frankie has a gun on him. We think our heroes' gooses are cooked. Not so fast, because a police helicopter shows up being piloted by a guide who was the police chief undercover earlier, who had
Yeah,
been
this
guiding
is-
Frankie.
This is incredibly unnecessary.
Inadequately set up for to be the guy that saves them at the end of
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
Frankie tries to run away, but Charlie uses his newfound bolo skills to knock him down. We then have a little moment of friendship between Lewis and Charlie when Jerry O'Connell does a fairly suspect Anthony Anderson impression. Like, it's the sort of thing where I'm like, oh, that's not cool anymore, dude.
Right in the line. I found this moment. Don't make fun of me. Like
We will.
for a brief second, I found this moment kind of touching, where Anthony Anderson feels like, okay, well, you were only my friend because I saved you, and it's all been based on guilt. And Jerry
Because
Connell's
why else would you be
response-
friends with me? I caused nothing but trouble, and I'm
Yeah.
a moron. Yeah.
And Jerry Connell's response is like, something I think that is relatable, where he's like, basically saying like, yeah, you are this agent of chaos in my life, but I need that. Like, all of my best stories begin with you. Obviously, like, the relationship has meaning to both of them. They bring something to each other, and then it's all ruined by like this like gay panic moment where he's like, we're not being gay over here, or whatever. Like, and I'm just like, movie, you're really like drained out the last little bit of goodwill here.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it would have been. I wish if I had gotten a better sense of their friendship beforehand, I think that could have been a very sweet moment. I know nothing about their lives.
Yeah.
Other than their friendship and the fact that he owns a hair salon. So when he's like, all my good stories belong with you, you didn't save my life that day. You saved my life every day. I'm like, I wish I'd seen any of that beforehand. But it is otherwise a very sweet moment that does not need them to then make sure everyone knows that because they're hugging, they're not about to start
Because
blowing
they're
each
two
other.
males
Like,
expressing affection for one another.
Maybe
Yeah.
the R-rated cut has a sequence, like a end of second act sequence where Charlie and Lewis kind of go their separate ways. They have
that
a
Shrek
friends
donkey
breakup.
moment. Yeah,
the Shrek donkey moment where they both like explore their life otherwise, and they realize like, yeah, my life's really boring without Lewis, and Lewis is like, without Charlie around, my life's insane.
When I first saw Shrek,
gather around, children. It's time for another Dan's Memories of Shrek.
Sure. You fished your movie ticket out of your wallet, which was attached to your belt using a chain.
So
Because he was a cherry poppin' daddy at the time.
I'm gonna anger the legions of people out there that for some reason still inexplicably like Shrek, but
Because they saw it as a kid. There's no other reason, yeah.
I didn't particularly like it at the time. I saw it I felt like there had been all these reviews that were saying, "Oh, what a funny twist on this," and I watched it. I'm like, okay, well, this is just like a worse version of Fractured Fairy Tales, a thing that has existed. It didn't feel new to me in the way that people were excited about it, and I wasn't enjoying it that much, but I was enjoying it enough. And then that moment happened where the donkey and Shrek have their falling out, and I felt myself deflate, exhausted, where I'm just like, this is the most pro forma,
Yes.
end of second act rift between the main characters for no reason, just so we can get them back together. And could I never see this in a movie again, please?
And they never used
Dan.
that bit in a movie ever.
Exactly. That was the last time. Congress passed a law called the Shrek Donkey Act.
All friends must remain friends in movies
Shrek
unless
v. Donkey.
adequate motivation be given.
Yeah.
Yeah, friends will have to remain friends until the crisis is over, because come on, guys, chill out.
Yeah.
You're both in a stressful situation. You can accept a little bit of extra
Your
service
bond-
from each other, yeah.
Your bond of years, well, I guess not years in this case, but your bond is stronger than this.
I mean, well,
let's
that's the
assume.
other thing is that Shrek and Donkey have been friends for like, what, a couple
Yeah.
days at that point?
All right, I've turned around. Shrek, 5 stars.
5 stars. We did it. Okay. So at this point, now that they've stopped the bad guys, luckily Kangaroo Jack is right there. Charlie coaxes him over with a tuft of grass. He manages to get the lucky jacket back and the money. Jack introduces Charlie to the rest of his kangaroo family. He gets kicked in the
introduces is a bit of a stretch. They wander over.
He gets kicked in the chest.
Names
by
are not exchanged.
Oh,
yeah.
He
you
gets
must be
kicked in the
Mrs.
chest
Jack.
by another kangaroo, and everybody loses their minds. The reaction shots are bonkers. Their eyes are bugging out of their heads. Their mouths have turned into black hole sun rictuses of enjoyment.
Oh, no.
This is also, he's now been kicked in the chest by 2 different kangaroos, one an adult, one a child. His chest is collapsed. Like his ribs at the very least should be broken a little bit. He may be, like those kangaroos kick really hard.
Yep. Yeah, you would expect like a tiny little Sylvester to be like, "Oh, father."
Scared of a mouse.
My wife does a much better
My
impression
own
of that.
father.
Okay.
There's
so,
like I just wish you want him to stop me. Like, have you seen how big this mouse is? It's enormous. Look at it.
Do you? I'm sure that you guys have
Essentially
these things
kangaroo, hippity hopper. Yeah.
that when you're a kid, like inexplicable things will like very much upset you. Like not like like you're just like, man, that is unfair. You know, like
racism.
Sure. Or
yeah, and then you get older and you come to understand it, and then you come to appreciate it. Yeah. When you get really old, you come to embody it. Yeah.
No, that's not what I just remember like those hippity hopper ones really upset.
Yeah. Because it is the idea that I know I felt the same way, that like this kid is ashamed of his father and the father's feeling embarrassed and he's getting the shit kicked out of him by a kangaroo. It's the same way
on
that
the reg.
On the reg, exactly. Yeah, constant. And the same way that anytime I was watching a sitcom and a character was about to be caught in a misunderstanding, I would get very tense and sometimes have to leave the room. My wife was telling me about some friends of hers took their kids to see I think it was the new Wonka movie. And there's a part where like when it seems like they're about to get in trouble, they get scared, and they don't want to watch it. And it's like, kids get in trouble a lot, so they don't like to see characters getting in trouble. It's more frightening than being killed in some ways,
Yeah.
Until kids realize that like nothing that people can do to them matters anymore, and they're the ones with the real power.
Oh God.
Yeah. I mean, when do they feel that way? When does that kick in?
When they realize that like when like you can't do anything to them as a parent because they'll just like call CPS or some crap.
I mean, it's certainly the moment when my younger son recognized that I can tell him not to do something, and then if he just starts doing it, there's very little I can do because there's a limit to how far I can go physically in restraining him. If it's like he gets out of bed, you have to go back to bed.
Because you're not very strong.
It's because I'm weak. It's because he's stronger than me and he can overpower me. Exactly. That what my 5-year-old does is he puts his hand up against my forehead and I just swing. I just swing at him with my fists.
It's
but
weird
I can't
because
reach.
you think that your reach would be greater than Gabriel's.
What you have to understand, Dan, is that I'm a cartoonishly small, weak man. Is the thing. It's ludicrously small that a 5-year-old has a better reach than me and is stronger than me. That's the basic premise of life that I'm getting at you. It's almost laughable how incredibly tiny I am. Like that I remember still when I said, "Oh, Sammy, do you want to read The Indian in the Cupboard?" And he said, "But you're the same size as the Indian in the cupboard. I'll just put you in a cupboard." And he picked me up and put me in a cupboard.
And you said,
and he locked it. Yeah.
No. And then and when you opened the door, a big cat face was there.
Exactly. Well, that's when we watched Cinderella, and he said, "Remember when we did that to you, Daddy? When the mice were locked in the cabinet?"
Yeah. Yeah, he pulled out your DVD copy of Small Soldiers, and he's like, "Don't you just call these guys soldiers because they're the same size as you?"
Actually, the thing they've been doing a lot recently is talking about me farting and calling me, and so it was like, and they were drawing chalk drawings on the ground, and they were like, "This is you," and it's just like a stick figure of glasses with a fart cloud, and at the end of the day, they were saying something to me, and I was like, I'm not amused anymore. And my wife was like, "Come on, they're kids." And I was like, "They've spent all day telling me that I fart. Like, I don't need to buy into these jokes anymore."
Yeah. No, I
it's another episode of Elliot gets bullied by his own children.
I understand your perspective. At the end of the day, I would not like that either. But man, hearing about it and hearing that it happened all day.
They're drawing chalk pictures of members of the family, and they drew a picture of Danielle, my wife, where she is holding a guitar, and they're like, "You're a rock star in this picture." And they drew a picture of me, and then they go, "And watch this." And they drew a toilet underneath it. This is you sitting on the toilet. Thanks, appreciate it.
Oh my God,
they got you. That's the thing that you do.
It is the thing I do. It's the thing I and nobody else in the house does. Is sit on a toilet. Yeah, ever.
Yeah. Oh, burned.
What? That's
so
such a mistake I made.
Michaels.
When I decided to start excreting the waste from my food that my body didn't need anymore into a receptacle designed for that process. That was my mistake. I shouldn't have done it.
Should have done that.
Yeah, they caught you slipping, dude.
I'm one of the few people who has a room in my house dedicated to the removal of this waste.
Must be nice to have so much room.
Yeah.
Have a whole house whole room for that.
Guys, I think we're in the
Rufus
home.
for shitting in. Mr.
Oh,
Moneybags
fancy
over
pants.
here. Oh,
We're in the. I think we're in the home stretch
yeah,
of Kangaroo
yeah.
Jack.
We're
Let's
almost
wrap
there.
this
Yeah.
bad boy up. Let's put a bow on this bitch. So we flash forward 1 year later. We get a little bit of monologue from Jerry O'Connell. I don't totally remember it all, but he's looking at a newspaper that talks about like a mob bust.
his stepdad has finally been. He could only pull so many strings, and now he's going to jail for his crimes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for setting up the hit. I think it's his crimes.
And he is lounging around on a yacht that we learn is his, that he has made his fortune using that $50,000 and creating a shampoo line using those fancy berries they found in the outback. He
Yes.
is now married to Jessie and I guess adopted Lewis to be their child.
Yeah.
And this is when, as Dan mentioned,
and they're
this one, as Dan mentioned, so with their business partners, which is why he also goes on their vacations with them.
yacht.
But as Dan mentioned, this is when Lewis reveals himself by cannonballing off the roof of the yacht into the hot tub. You have to assume, in real life, hurting himself and destroying the hot tub. But instead he just splashes them and they all laugh.
Now, here's like this ending felt weird to me, and I wonder whether it was
How so,
like
Dan? It seemed a total natural progression from everything we've seen in the movie up till then. That it would end with them as millionaire shampoo entrepreneurs.
I wondered whether this was part of the reshoots because there was such a big deal made about Estella Warren like needing money to do this ecological preservation in Australia that I kind of assumed that the logical happy ending to this is somehow she winds up with the $50,000.
And maybe they're working with her.
They're working together in
Yeah.
Australia. They have a new life there. Anthony Anderson can be with them too. Sure, like that's the happy ending. That seems like it does something for the world and doesn't just like rip her away from her interests to like come be a shampoo magnate.
You're
on a
forgetting,
yacht.
and wife. She's she's just looking at him so adoringly. She's lost all personal independence or agency. But you're forgetting the highest good is to get as much money as possible so that you can use that money to save the people of the future from evil AI computers. You're forgetting that is the highest of all noble goods.
That makes
That's
sense.
what's going to happen.
Yep. And
All
so
right.
that you can drop some sick memes. What else can you do if you're super wealthy?
You can really invest in crypto and then get out right before everyone realizes what it is. Yeah,
You could turn yourself into like a C-grade pit bull impersonator.
Okay.
You have to understand, Dan, that the highest good is to make as much money as possible so you can transfer that money into the form of images of apes with sunglasses on and then question mark. Something
Finally,
after that gets you into
making
heaven.
sense. Someone's saying something I understand.
I'll be so mad if I die, I go to heaven. St. Peter is like, okay, just give me one ape NFT and then you get into heaven. And I'll be like, is that what I needed? And it's like, that was always the admission fee. No one has ever gotten into heaven until 2012 or whatever, or 2000, when did they start? 18 or something? I don't know. But,
but at that point, wouldn't you be happy to not be going in there because those guys are all terrible?
That's true. And then I'd say, wait, this is heaven? He'd go, oh no, the opposite. I'm sorry, I'm the devil. This is hell. And I'd go, oh, okay, thanks. I'll go the other way. Yeah.
Thanks for being honest, the devil.
He's like, but I lied to you the first time as he's taking off his St. Peter
comes
disguise.
out,
Yeah.
Speaking of a
explains the moral.
devil-like figure, our movie doesn't end on a yacht. No. It ends back in the outback where we see
Devil-like
Kangaroo
figure.
Jack, Kangaroo Jack, that malevolent trickster.
Yeah.
At this point, he's wearing the jacket again, right? Somehow he got the
Yeah,
jacket.
I think he probably
just so
ordered
we
one
know
for
who
himself
he
because
is.
it looks so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
without him,
and
he's just a kangaroo. Yeah.
And we clarified you can just buy that sweatshirt. You don't have to be born in Brooklyn. So and then he does a song and like rap and he does a bunch of bits. He does I'd say a fairly passable Dr. Evil impression. What do you think?
Yeah.
This is
That really dated the movie so
it's
much.
so incredibly
Even more than a rapping kangaroo dated the movie.
Yes, it's so incredibly lazy too because he's like, I'm the star of the movie. I can do impressions, and he does one impression, and it's Dr. Evil, and it's like you couldn't even do two more shitty impressions. Like you could like that. That was it. That was just all set up for a Dr. Evil joke, but it does date it considerably because if you showed this movie to a child now, which I will not do because again, CPS will take my kids away from me if I do. They would have no idea what that was a joke about. Like I was thinking that's
about that.
gone from the zeitgeist. You know.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Okay.
There's so much comedy from around that time where someone either on purpose or as a joke about telling a bad joke goes like, "Yeah, baby," and now no one. Now there's a whole generation that will just not understand that even
I
as a
guess
reference.
people just said that back then.
I get people. Why was everyone saying "Yeah, baby" in kind of a not quite English accent back then? Why was everyone asking if other people made them horny? I don't understand. Or if they
Seems
made
like
other
harassment.
people horny.
hey, let's close out Kangaroo Jack by doing our final judgments, saying whether we thought this was a good bad movie, a bad movie, a movie we kind of liked. This is a weird one for me. I'm not. It is not a good movie. It's not a movie I kind of liked. But on like the scale of like Flophouse movies, I certainly had a more enjoyable time watching this than a lot of them. And I think that it is less that it is a like good bad movie in the sense that I'm like laughing at how hilarious all the badness of it is, and more just like at a certain point as you grow older, you will find that you get nostalgic for a particular flavor of badness that used to exist that doesn't exist in the world so much anymore. Like this movie feels so of its time and so of like the type of bad movie you would get back then that I had this kind of like sneaking fondness for it. So I guess I'm saying good bad.
Yeah,
so you're
Dan's
saying
like there
this
is
movie-
you are taking your female lead and putting her in an undershirt and getting that shirt wet. I guess it gets at least half a star.
That's
for
right.
I'll
that.
allow
what
it,
it's all
says Dan
about.
McCoy. So you're saying,
Yep.
Dan, this should have won the Best Picture Oscar for that year instead of, let's see, what won that year? Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. I think Stuart would agree with this. Yeah.
I'm going to kill all of you.
No, Dan, you are right that this was a very nostalgic feeling film in that way. It feels like the kind of bad movie from that time. I'm also going to call it a bad movie because it's a huge waste of time. It felt the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, why does this exist? Why am I watching it? To quote, I don't want to steal another person's podcast title, but how did this get made? How did this movie and how
We know a lot about how it got made in this case, but
well, I think we understand how it got made, but we don't know why it got
Yeah,
made. I guess
so
that's
you
really
get
what
like
it is.
you get some cameras and actors and lights.
oh really?
Yeah,
We should
Tell me more.
We should call
maybe
Paul
a
and
script.
Jason and June and tell them all
But
this information.
the idea that like, and this was from Jerry Bruckheimer. This is from a big production company. And Jerry Bruckheimer Films is like, we'll get the director from Coyote Ugly. We'll get Jerry O'Connell. It's a story about a kangaroo and some mobsters. We've got to make this movie. Like it's we have to spend, tens of millions of dollars on this.
Yeah.
It just, I find it very baffling because it's a kind of a nothing movie.
Yeah, it's not fun enough to be a good bad movie. And yeah, it's just it's.
I feel like
mainly,
it's not bad enough to be a good bad movie where you're like,
Yeah,
where it's making an impression on you at least.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just it's not good. Don't watch it. It's not what you want. I promise you.
It's not what you want.
2 non-recommendations and 1 should have won Best Picture from Dan
Yep.
McCoy.
Yep, that's what I said.
From the twisted minds that brought you the Adventure Zone, Balance and Amnesty and Graduation and Ethersea and Steeplechase and Outre Space and all the other ones, the McElroy brothers and Dad are proud to reveal a bold vision for the future of actual play podcasting. It's called the Adventure Zone versus Dracula.
Yeah, we're gonna kill Dracula's ass. We're gonna attempt. We haven't recorded all of it yet. We will attempt to kill Dracula's ass. The Avengers Zone versus Dracula.
Yes, a season I will be running using the D&D 5th edition rule set, and there's 2 episodes out for you to listen to right now. We hope you will join us. Same bat time, same bat channel for more
Bats.
fun.
I see what you did there.
People say not to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Which is why here on Just the Zoo of Us, we judge them by so much more.
We rate animals out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, ingenuity, and aesthetics, taking into consideration each animal's true strengths, like a pigeon's ability to tell a Monet from a Picasso, or a polar bear's ability to play basketball.
Guest experts like biologists, ecologists, and more join us to share their unique insight into the animal's world.
Listen with friends and family of all ages on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get podcasts.
Let's do our sponsors. Let's not do our sponsors. Let's provide our sponsors
It seemed
messages
unprofessional, unethical.
to
yeah.
the listeners. Our podcast, The Flophouse, is sponsored in part by Rocket Money. Now, if I asked you, how many subscriptions do you have? Would you be able to list all of them and what you're paying? The amount you're spending might surprise you. I believe it. You sign up for a thing, you let it go, you forget about it, and then you're spending all that money for nothing. Rocket Money.
Money
can
for
help
nothing and the
find-
chicks for free, but in a bad way.
In a bad way.
Yeah.
Rocket Money can help find and cancel unused subscriptions. It's a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills. They can even try and get you a refund for the last couple of months of wasted money or negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. Just take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They have over 5 million users, and Rocket Money has helped save its members an average of $720 a year. $720 a year. Let's put it that way. That's an easier way of hearing it.
No, I liked the quest you had to go on to get there. It wasn't the destination; it was the
$720 a
journey.
year.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm feeling a headache. Come on, right in real time.
Yeah, well, that's a big number to have to comprehend and to have to. It's a lot.
With over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Guys, we had a lot of fun.
Did we ever?
But here's the important thing that I have to say. Why not cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/flop? That's rocketmoney.com/flop. rocketmoney.com/flop.
Hey there. I'm Stuart Wellington, and I'm a hard-working podcaster. And before a heavy podcasting sesh, I need to get some energy. And the best way to get energy, that's right, eat some food. Now, one of the best ways
Some
to get
would say
food,
the only way to get energy.
one of the best ways to get food delivered right to your door is Factor. Factor does ready-to-eat meal deliveries that takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success all year long. That's right. Forget frantic lunch preps and rush dinners. Factor makes 2-minute meals that are going to be your secret weapon in this new year. You know what? Time for a change. Why don't you change over to Factor? You can fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals, all delivered right to your door. Need a special occasion meal? Gourmet Plus is the perfect solution if that's what you're looking for. It's going to be fast, upscale options that are easily done in your home. So head to factormeals.com/flop50 and use code FLOP50 to get 50% off. That's code FLOP50 at factormeals.com/flop50 to get 50% off. Yum.
Yum, indeed. Elliot?
Yum, indeed. There's some Flophouse stuff to talk about. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. If you're listening to this episode on the day it comes out, January 27th, then you should know we have been having a spectacular West Coast tour. We've had great stops in Portland, in Vancouver, in San Francisco. We just were at San Francisco last night. It was an amazing show. I wish I could tell you all the incredible things that happened during it, but I can't. We just don't have time. And we're recording this ahead of time, so I don't technically know, but I will know, and it's going to be great. Tomorrow night, January 28th, if you're listening to this on our release day, we will be in Los Angeles, California at the Regent Theater live talking Spawn. That's right, Spawn, the movie that started the superhero craze. We wouldn't have the MCU without Spawn, probably. So come on down and hear us talk about it. Go to flophousepodcast.com/events for more info. Or you can go to the Regent Theater website, which is regentdtla.com, and you can buy tickets there. So go to regentdtla.com or to flophousepodcast.com/events to get tickets for our show tomorrow night in Los Angeles at the Regent Theater. It's going to be very fun. It's the last stop of our West Coast tour, and I don't know when we're going to be back to the West Coast. So this may be your last chance to see us live if you live in the Los Angeles area for quite some time. In fact, I'll tell you, just come see us. We're not coming back for a while. This is not going to happen. I'm done shitting where I eat. I can't do it anymore.
Wow.
I get a bad name. So come see us tomorrow night at the Regent Theater, Flophouse Live, talking about Spawn. And if you come see us, and that's just not quite enough of seeing our sweet, beautiful faces while we talk, you still have a couple days in which you can watch Flop TV. January is not quite over yet. And if you go to theflophouse.simpletix.com, you can still get a season pass to watch the recordings of our Flop TV episodes. Those will be up for another few days until the end of January. But the real excitement is tomorrow's show in Los Angeles. Go to flophousepodcast.com/events or regentdtla.com, stands for Downtown LA, and you can come see us live talking about Spawn. Guys, are you excited to talk about Spawn tomorrow?
I am. I'll project myself forward into the future where I assume my opinion will be the same. And I'm excited to talk about Spawn because that is a wild movie. People forget there was a time when they didn't know how to make superhero movies. And there's also a time when they didn't know really how to use computer graphics in movies.
Yeah.
And they collide and Spawn. And
Guys,
there was one single time when John Leguizamo didn't seem to know what he was doing. And that was also in Spawn.
Man, yeah, I have so much affection now for that era of digital effects where you're like what was that movie? Hideaway, based on the Dean Koontz book?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Give me
me like things collapsing into like weird puddles of CGI goo.
Oh, man.
They used to do that all the time. Yeah.
Like in Time Cop, where he throws the one, what's his name, into the other, what's
Ron
his
Silver
name?
into
Ron Silver,
and they
Virtuosity
mush together.
and Lawnmower Man.
Yeah.
Oh,
All that
good
stuff.
stuff.
give me yum, yum, yum.
If you also feel that nostalgia for 90s CGI, come see us talk about Spawn. You're not going to see Spawn, but you'll see us talk about it, and you'll get more of this. It's going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move on, shall we, to letters from listeners. We have them. They're you. And you send letters to us. Is this your letter? Maybe. Listen up. This one's from...
Listen up, idiot. Pay
Listen up.
attention.
Hey, class.
Hey, is
shut
this
up.
your letter? There's only one way to know. Listen up, stupid. Listen up. It's like Dan in more of a, Pantera type vibe, maybe?
Yeah, sure. This is from Meg, last name withheld.
Is your name
M-A-E-G.
Meg? If it's not your letter. Keep listening. Maybe we'll get to you.
Okay, cool.
But Meg, this is your letter, so listen especially to this one.
When I started
I
listening
realize it's turning into Hey Mickey, the song.
Yeah.
When I started listening to the Flophouse in 2016, Stu tended to indulge in adult consumption products and not infrequently mention Castle Freak. I would listen to the podcast at the gym, and I was just getting into the swing of protein counting. Smash cut to today. I blew off the gym and am instead indulging in adult consumption products and watching Castle Freak, while Stu is, one presumes, curling with one hand and downing a protein shake in the other. So since Stu and I have switched personalities,
Yeah.
I was
Must have
wondering if
peed
you
in a fountain
wouldn't.
together, yeah.
That's what happened.
I was wondering if you wouldn't mind watching the 2017 Russian answer to the Marvel movies, The Defenders. At the time I started listening to the Flophouse, I was living abroad in a small Russian city. The Defenders was a film I always felt would be perfect for the Flophouse. Pretty ladies for Dan, superheroes for Elliot, a bear man for Stu.
What?
If it weren't in Russian, since you all don't
yeah.
seem to do foreign films.
I remember the trailer for this one going around.
Peacherini, have you thought about doing bad foreign language films on the podcast? What foreign language films would you consider doing? Foreign Film February has a fun ring to it, no?
Oh.
I think we only did Aileen.
Yes, I think that's the only foreign language film
true.
we've ever done. Yeah.
I mean, I know that speaking for
Well, we're
myself...
doing older movies, so maybe we'll do Life is Beautiful.
I guess an easy... no pitfalls there in making
No, not at
fun
all,
of that
yeah.
film. I mean, obviously, one would hope that in an ideal world, when there's a podcast about a bad movie, the hosts are paying close attention to it at every moment. But I know that for me, my brain tends to slide off the movies, and I have to keep slapping myself to keep paying attention. And I don't know whether it would be good to have subtitles to keep me locked in, or bad because I would just be like, I can't do this. I can't stay this locked in on a bad movie this whole time.
There's also a part of me where I, like, if something seems silly or doesn't make sense, I'm like, is this just a cultural difference that I don't understand? Something
That
like
is a
that.
pitfall I would worry about, is us being like, what is that all about? Who does that? And it turns out it's a common thing, or it's a special thing, or it's a sacred or important thing. And we definitely don't want. There was one of the issues I had that I could never quite articulate was how much I enjoyed the movie RRR. But at the end, when there's that dance number where they're just singing about the strength of the Indian nation, I was like, this feels less okay to me. Like, or the fact that these two guys are equal heroes, but then one of them is at the end is clearly becomes superior to the other one in terms of like hierarchy like this. But I didn't know enough about Indian culture or modern India to parse that completely. And I would worry about podcasting in that way, about that kind of thing, from a seat of half knowledge.
I also think that just sort of like in a practical sense, the foreign films that tend to reach us are the cream of the crop, and we don't
They
hear
rise
about
to the top. Yeah.
Never trust a pig because a pig is a cop.
We don't hear about the movies that are so bad that they're funny, like it's just those don't get exported a lot of the time.
Sometimes they tend to be the older, kind of sillier ones, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Turkish Star Wars and things like that. But but yeah, I guess. But maybe we'll start. Okay, so I guess next episode we'll talk about a Serbian movie. I guess that's what we got to do. Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Finally.
I don't think there's anything keeping us from it. We just, like there are more roadblocks.
Yeah, you know what? Luckily, there's enough bad English language films coming out all the time.
Yeah.
I am curious about this Russian movie though. Now I want to.
Yeah, I remember seeing the trailer and being like, "What?"
This next letter breaks the signature form. They say that they're Kansan and Cali, and they say, "Hey, hi floppers." As a poet who was born and raised...
Before we say anything, I'm going to say I approve of this. Everybody, you can start signing your letters in different ways if you want to. You don't always have to use your first name and then last name withheld. If you want to be cheeky about it, go ahead.
I normally strip out the last name, so I just started doing that. Anyway, sorry. That was Gilly. Remember Gilly? Gilly, guys?
Yeah, I remember Gilly well. Yeah.
Gilly. Okay. Oh, wait, sorry. This person writes, "Hi, floppers.
Hey.
As a poet who was born and raised in Topeka, I felt compelled to write in."
Oh, finally. We'll get back to what this podcast is really about. People's thoughts about Topeka.
Dan, it's okay not to like poetry. I'm barely judging you at all. As for Topeka, it's fine. Speaking of things which are fine, what's
a lot of hot takes in this letter.
Yeah.
What's a perfectly average movie? The 2.5 out of 5, the default movie. Kansan and Cali. I know that in the past we joked that, ironically, Trouble with the Curve is a straight down the middle movie. I think that's a pretty good 2.5.
That's still one of the first ones that came to mind when I was hearing this question. Yeah, Trouble with the Curve is a real 2.5er.
I mean, I think that there was a certain period in Clint Eastwood's life when he was, giving us a lot of perfect 2.5.
Yeah, what's the one? There's the one where he's a reporter who has to get someone off death row. Was that?
Just like Blood Work or
Blood. That's the other. It was called like True Crime or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Blood Work came out at the same time, and those are both kind of like 2.5ers. Yeah.
Absolute Power.
Yeah, like I want to say that a lot of like Jason Statham action movies are kind of 2.5s. Like they have high points, but they have low points, and it kind of evens out. But I don't know if I'm gonna totally commit to this decision.
I was thinking about the movie One True Thing with Renee Zellweger and Meryl Streep, where it's like a family and the mom is sick.
That's making this up right now.
Okay,
yeah.
This is a real movie, but it's exactly what I'm saying, because it's a total not a bad movie, not a particularly memorable movie, and it's just if it's on, I could see watching it with your mom while you're visiting from out of town or something like that. But
that was the slogan: if it's on, watch it with your mom.
Yep. It was nominated for one Academy Award for Meryl Streep in it, but it's one of those movies that
for best Meryl Streep.
For best Streep. she lost to Carl Streep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like she's the GOAT, like she's gonna put up numbers, you're gonna get awards for her. She's great.
Yeah, but it's one of those movies where you're like, this movie's not bad, but it's also not it doesn't feel special, That's a 2.5er. Here's my controversial take. Guys, would you call Batteries Not Included a 2.5 movie?
Yeah, I would. Like it was good enough that I would watch it sort of out of like this bizarre feeling of boredom and obligation when it was on when I was a kid, but I never actually I don't feel like I enjoyed it that much. Like there's another movie that like I watched a lot as a kid, always expecting it to be better, was Brewster's Millions.
Yeah.
Just because it was on all the time on
it was on
cable.
Constantly. And you're like, this has got to be funny. These are funny people who are in it.
Yeah.
It's got to be good. And you watch and you're like, oh, all right. Yeah, it's not
sort of wistful, I guess.
Yeah.
What
it's
about
not the toy? I'm not horrified by it.
Yeah,
but it's also
what
not
about-
like Silver Streak,
What about like Mom and Dad Save the World?
Yeah, that's kind of a 2.5 movie. That's one of those movies where you look at it and you're like,
That's almost
This
too
is-
good.
you're like, this is a lot. This is a lot of money to put in a movie that's this mediocre. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of costumes for this.
What about Spaced Invaders?
Oh,
yeah, I feel like you could have a triple feature of Batteries Not Included, Space Invaders, and Mom and Dad Save the World, which is the like, okay, science
No one
fiction
would go
bag.
home happy or sad.
Space Invaders, though, when I was a kid, I loved that movie, but I think it was because I was just not used to seeing like science fiction comedies that were so science fiction heavy. You know?
I think of those movies, Space Invaders might be like edging into more just like good because I like
it's like
that
a 2.75. It's a great premise, but
It's tough because I think it came out around the same time as Ernest Scared Stupid, which of course is the best of the
Sure.
Ernest movies. It fucking rules.
that's a scary movie in the beginning.
It
Ernest
rocks.
Scared Stupid. By the end, when they're just running around in a field, being chased by goblins and then chasing goblins, it kind of loses the narrative tautness that it has at the beginning. But
Sure.
Well, I think we've talked about everything. Let's move on to recommendations of movies that probably would be more worthwhile use of your time than.
then Spaced or Mom and Dad
And-
Save the World or
Well, I
Batteries
was
Not
gonna
Included.
say
I
Kangaroo
mean, Space
Jack,
is a
but-
TV show, Elliot.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Space
is
Invaders. Space is a good
check
show,
that
yeah.
out. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't seen it in a long time. Is there anything that doesn't age well in that?
probably,
doesn't
but
matter.
you always gotta. What do you?
You
gotta
know,
do?
it came from a specific time. It was important to us when we were at that age. Yada yada yada.
I mean, can you imagine how amazing it was back then when we saw a TV show and we're like, they're making like science fiction and comic book jokes in this TV show.
Yeah.
It seemed amazing.
And
now
like,
I'm
and,
tired.
and like using
Yeah.
like cinematic
Fully.
references in the like filmmaking of the TV
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Hey, let's do recommendations.
It's too bad those
like I
guys
was
never did
saying.
anything else. Those guys who made Spaced.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend a movie that I went to a screening of recently, and as I was leaving, someone they either recognized me or heard my voice said, "You going to recommend this on the podcast?" And so this is for you.
Was that Eric
Dan's
Adams who said that to you?
Yeah,
Mayor of New
Yeah,
York?
that's right.
Dan's getting catcalled now.
Hey, you gonna recommend that on the podcast, sweetheart? That's what they said.
Yep. It's a movie called Dr. Caligari from 1989. And it was directed by this director. Let me look up the name, actually. They made Cafe Flesh, the sort of cult favorite pornographic film. Stephen Syed, yeah, I don't know how to say this last name. Sayedian.
Keep trying. This is good content.
Good stuff. But it is a wild movie. Like, it presents like it's going to be kind of a sexploitation movie, but really doesn't have like ultimately that much sex in it. It's just a lot of kind of just weirdness. It
It describes a lot of
The
sex to me.
title the title obviously is referencing the cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and the only thing it shares with that movie is like it's
Ugh, my
set
kids
in this
put me in that cabinet too, and they wouldn't let me out. Those bully kids of mine.
mental institution. And it is done in a style that evokes German expressionism, but also kind of looks like when it was made, 1989. It like feels like Pee-wee's Playground Trapper Keeper sort of version of German expressionism. And I don't know, it's just a lot made with a little. It's a very striking looking movie that doesn't really have much of a plot that you're going to want to follow or care about, but at the same time, that doesn't matter. Maybe it's 20 minutes too long for a movie that doesn't offer normal payoffs, but it's pretty amazing to look at. And it's co-written by, of course, Jerry Stahl, the famous heroin-using Alf writer who wrote Permanent Midnight. So there you go. Dr. Caligari. If you like weird stuff, seek it out.
We do. We like weird stuff here in the Flophouse.
hmm
I'm going to recommend a new movie.
Dan, Jerry Stahl also worked on Bad Boys 2. Let's not forget that.
Okay. I don't want to put him in a box. I just, I think
He's
that
not just a heroin-using Alf writer. He's also a former
The
heroin-using Bad Boys
juxtaposition.
2 writer.
yeah, but that's not as weird a juxtaposition as Alf.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So I'm going to recommend a new movie that's not to my knowledge, written by a heroine using Alf writer.
This is all, he wrote about it in his memoir.
Which was made into a film eventually.
Yeah, you're not
This is not
being a
slander or libel
paparazzo
or whatever
something.
one is spoken.
You're not gossiping. This isn't a non-blind
bringing
item.
up a thing that he brings up.
This is Dan's blind items newspaper. What Elf writer has become a huge heroin user? Jerry Stahl. That's it. Dan, can you come into my office?
I think he's recovered now. I think he's
Dan, can you come into my
past it.
office? You're not supposed to name the people in the blind items. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I was supposed to name them and then blind them. No, Dan. No.
No, you're supposed to. You're supposed to pose a question
Well, what am I
and then
supposed to-
possibly use a picture of Haley Joel Osment or like Wallace Shawn or something.
What am I supposed to do with all these eyeballs I've collected?
That's
Yeah,
up to you.
Yeah, you need to have like two pictures next to each other. One is a young actress, and the next is Wallace Shawn. So they think that somehow heroin has morphed her into Wallace Shawn. Okay, so I'm going to recommend a new movie that's kind of about morphing. That's right, I watched The Iron Claw. It's a little indie film about big old muscly boys. It's a biopic about the Von Erich wrestling family, and it's got a lot of great actors in it. You got Holt McClaney, you got Jeremy Allen White, and you got the biggest, muscliest boy of them all. That's right, Zac Efron. Putting in some big pounds there, boy. He changed his body. He is so wide, he looks like a fucking barrel. I love it. I can't get enough.
So are you recommending the movie or just looking at a picture of him?
I mean, you could do both. Like
Yeah.
maybe two, like screen and screen while you're watching it. So
I mean, but he's in the movie. I don't know why you need to screen.
there's scenes where he's not in it, though,
That's
dude.
the second screen
That's true.
experience.
So you have a picture of him on your phone so you can hold it up to look at while the scenes he's not in are playing.
Ugh, boring.
So this is a movie about a family of young wrestlers who are trying to like establish their name and trying to make it in the big wrestling world, and they're while suffering under the yoke of a let's say abusive father. The performances are great. It's super sad. I went into the movie intentionally like not looking up anything about the family, and then I looked it all up afterwards, and I'm like, holy shit, this is horrible. So if you
Even
want like a
sadder
really
than the
sad,
movie.
horrible true story that they've even like edited to make it less horrible.
Ooh.
And although I like the movie as a whole, I do feel like the movie. This is a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but at the end of the movie, there is like some text on the screen that says like the Von Erichs were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame and that they're considered one of the great wrestling dynasties. And I'm like, what the fuck? Did the dad write this shit? Like, that is not the message of the movie. The message of the movie
was
is that
all
wrestling
worth
is
it.
great and it's worth it.
What it should have said at the end was the Von Erichs developed a thinking machine. We know them now as computers.
Yeah. Oh, and I also forgot we got Maura Tierney in this movie. We got another young hot boy, Harris Dickinson. Oh man, it's great. Thumbs up, big old muscles. And I gotta find out how he got that wide. He's really big, right, Dan?
Yes, I was perturbed when you seem to want to look like him, because to me he looks like if like He-Man was even like squashed sort of water.
Yeah, it's a
and
He-Man,
bulged out.
that a kid has been stepping on a lot. Yeah.
Oh man, I want to be a stepped on He-Man. That's the thing, Dan. Body dysmorphia. You can't explain it; it just happens. You can't control it.
Yeah.
Oh no, Stuart,
You can only get out of its way, I guess,
No, you just you got to roll with it.
or see a therapist.
too real.
I mean,
Men would rather be squashed He-Man than see a therapist. I'm going to recommend a movie that I think is going to be a controversial one, possibly. I don't remember, but I feel like I have a sense that you guys don't like this movie, but I don't know. I haven't seen Poor Things yet, but I wanted to catch up on my Yorgos Lanthimos, and so I finally got around to seeing The Killing of a Sacred Deer, which I had heard mixed things about, and I knew people who did not like it. And so I was like, all right, I'll watch this. I bet I'm probably not going to like it. And I really liked it. It was exactly what I wanted out of that movie.
I only saw it recently, so I you may have.
I'm not a huge fan. I'm not.
I know.
I'm
doesn't
the
like-
resident non-Yorgos fan.
Stuart
here
does
at the
not like
Wow.
Yorgos. I know you didn't like The Lobster, and I didn't. But it is. I found it to be genuinely very upsetting in a way that I liked. But there are also parts that I found funny in a way where I was like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but this is pretty funny. And
Well, when he asked, spoiler, when he essentially asked the principal to rank his children
Yes,
for reasons
which
I
you
will
think
not.
He has found this level where Colin Farrell is the most pathetic man in the world, both in this and in The Lobster. Someone who just cannot understand how to interact with human beings or feel emotions, but is a person. Is not like is not a weirdo, and he managed to do in this movie what I think Leave the World Behind was kind of trying to do, which is to show you people who seem to be in a good position and kind of reveal that they are actually messes and how little logic or reason needs to be removed for a family to fall apart. You know, how if something inexplicable causes these emotional bonds to dissolve.
You got to introduce a little goblin like Barry Kagan.
And
all you need is a Barry Kagan goblin
Barry Kagan's
to show
great
up,
in
and
it.
just
So
ruins
it is
everything.
it's a movie that I'd recommend if you like this kind of movie, because I think it's very good for this kind of movie. But if you do not like this kind of movie, then don't see this movie. But I was genuinely pleasantly surprised to see I find this movie really affecting in an unpleasant way, but in an unpleasant way that I liked because it's what I was looking for from a Yorgos Lanthimos.
Yeah, I liked it fairly well as well.
Yeah, and it's just really well made. I felt bad. I watched it not too long after we watched Leave the World Behind, and I was like, in Leave the World Behind, there'll be nothing going on, but the music will be creepy, and it doesn't work. In this, you're just watching someone walk down a hallway, and the music is creepy, and it works for me. And so maybe I just was not giving that movie the credit that I give to Lanthimos, but I don't know. So.
Yeah, but you also he has a provocateur pedigree where you're like,
yes.
If I just let him linger on a scene, he can throw something fucked up and won't care about it.
Yes, exactly, and that he will pay it off. He is not going to. He's
he
not going
will
to
kill
weasel
his
out of it.
sacred deer, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
he will kill a sacred. That the same way that one of the things I loved about Banshee of Inisherin, which also Colin Farrell, is that movie sets
and
up
Barry
a bad
Kagan.
and Barry Kagan. That's true.
Best buddies forever.
Yeah, that it sets up a bad situation and then doesn't let the characters out of that situation. It plays it out to the worst end it can get to, and this felt the same way to me. And I was like, to see a movie where the characters have to squirm and they have to pay for this. You know, they're stuck in a bad situation they can't get out. There's no clever way to solve it. Was really, I liked seeing. Because I like to see characters suffer, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if I had to psychoanalyze it, I think it's comforting to have a movie tell you the truth that, sometimes there is no easy way out, rather than it always being, I don't know, a softer ending.
And as it plays into this kind of ancient Greek idea of kind of cruel justice of the gods. And the older I get, the more I kind of find myself not wanting to see that in real life, but
longing for the cruel justice of the gods to smite your enemies.
Exactly. In the art that I see, I'm coming to appreciate more this idea that justice and humanity are not necessarily on the same level. That there's the disconnect between human desires and the coldness of the universe, and how to square that is something that I'm coming to want more and more in my media at the moment. So I don't know why.
It's perfect for a family movie night or something to
get
watch
the
with
kids
your mom.
together. Check your brain at the door, because if you can't censor, if your senses can't process what you're seeing, it's going to be that much less upsetting.
Yeah.
But
you ever
remember to keep your claim check for your brain.
Exactly. Because I had that happen once. I went to the theater. I checked my brain. I lost the check. They gave me the wrong brain, and for a week, I was an accountant.
That's not an easy thing to figure out because you've got someone else's brain. So you basically you look in the mirror.
I mean,
then
Freaky
there's a little
Friday,
bit of a disconnect.
figure out pretty
something's
fast,
wrong.
right?
You're like, that's not the face that's supposed to go with my brain. And they gave my brain to Chris Pine, so my brain did not want to get moved. That was the thing. When we were supposed to, I got another guy's brain. Chris Pine got my brain. And so we had to switch, and my brain was literally holding on with its tendrils to the inside of Chris Pine's skull because it didn't want to leave and come back to me.
Yeah.
And the brain was like, I cannot be shoved in any more cabinets by Elliot's children. That was Chris Pine never gets shoved in a cabinet.
No, he doesn't.
No one puts Chris Pine in a cabinet.
I mean, I've tried.
Just to keep him to yourself.
How many people are drawing chalk drawings of Chris Pine sitting on a toilet and making fun of his farts? Nobody. Never happens.
Oh man.
One of many ways in which your life differs from that of
That's
Chris Pine.
the main way. That's the main way my life is different from Chris Pine's.
Yeah. So that was you in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. I bet his farts smell good. Ask your kids.
I mean, I asked my kids. I don't know if they would know. I mean, I did tell. I walked with Chris Pine on the picket line, not with him, but like we were on the same picket line, and he had me walk around. He didn't fart while I was walking near him, so I don't know if they smelled good or not.
Man, you should have asked him to.
Now, what surprising piece of style? Like, what was he wearing? You know,
He was wearing
distinct-
kind of boat shoes with kind of capri-ish pants that were loose at the bottom, not tight but loose, but they were short, no socks, and kind of an open and a button-down blue shirt open, and sunglasses and like a sweater on top of that was like a grandma's cardigan that's unbuttoned. It looked like he was on vacation. It was not
Stuart
the
King
biggest,
over
not the
here.
biggest wear, but
What a hype
Stuart,
beast
I could see you wearing that outfit
Oh
instantly.
man, I
yeah.
want it so bad.
Oh, and aviator sunglasses, those two. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Man.
Yeah.
Chris Pine. Guys, it's been fun, but I'm afraid this is where I leave you and all of you for this episode of The Flophouse. We exist in large part because we have partnered with the Maximum Fun Network. You can find all their other podcasts at MaximumFun.org. Soon, the Max Fun Drive will be coming up. I hope that those who can would consider supporting the continued existence of the show by paying us. But we'll talk about that later. For now, just see those other shows. Like I said, check it out. Thank you to Alex Smith, our producer. He goes by the name Howell Doughty on all the various socials and such.
MySpace, Friendster.
I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
I realized that I was steering into talking about a certain website that now I hate. So I steered away. If you have the time and the
Dr. Skin,
inclination,
Mr. Skin. Let's call him
Give
Dr.
us-
Skin.
Dr. Skin.
He went back.
PhD
He went. Got his PhD. Yeah, he's not a medical doctor.
That's cool, yeah.
No, he got a doctorate in English literature. Yeah, Dr. Skin, medicine pervert. But anyway, you're saying look
the
for Hal Doughty online.
dermatologist is basically
Yeah, that
Dr.
actually
Skin.
makes
That's
some
true.
sense.
That's a
Yeah.
fair point. Yeah.
Why do I have to be fully nude for this dermatology appointment? That's the way Dr. Skin works.
Yeah, you got to get all the.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, we're signing off. Point is, if you like the show, and why wouldn't you? Really, you look in your heart. Why don't you give us a good review over at iTunes? But for the Flophouse, I've been Dan McCoy.
And I'm soon to be in Australia, Stuart Wellington.
And I'm soon to be pushed into a cabinet by a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old, Elliot Kalin, saying, "Don't stop putting me in that cabinet."
Bye. Yeah, let's burn all our bridges.
But not Jeff Bridges. He's a national treasure. Do not burn him.
Yeah,
please.
exactly. Although, imagine how good he would be at acting that he's on fire.
Oh, amazing.
The
hey,
range
man,
this
put me
man
out.
has.
Whoa.
You're only doing one of his characters.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to the real man at this point.
Yeah.
You mean the old man on AMC?
Yeah. I think if I'm looking at Jeff Bridges, I don't
I
think
watched one episode of that, and I
think-
enjoyed it, and then I forgot to return to it.
Yes.
that happens with a
Nailed
lot of
it.
shows. Yeah. Hey, you know what's great? A show where you don't need to worry about that because it's just a pleasant show you turn on whenever. You don't have
Yeah.
to. You don't have to watch all the episodes.
It's called The Flophouse.
Maximum Fun
A worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
Directly
by you.